Tuesday morning, everyone. We begin with a major consumer alert about ground beef, which may be contaminated with E. coli.
The recalled meat was sold only to restaurants, but is an important reminder about the dangers of undercooked burgers. ABC's Tamon Bradley has the details.
Americans eat approximately 50 billion burgers a year. That number sounds like proof that we know what we're ordering. It isn't. Most people sitting down with a burger in front of them have no idea whether the patty was frozen solid before it touched the grill, whether the beef they're tasting was treated with ammonia before it was processed, or whether a federal lawsuit once alleged the meat inside contained more filler than actual animal. The chains that use poor quality meat don't advertise it. The ones that use real beef often do. That gap in marketing behavior is itself a signal. We went through published ingredient lists, employee testimony, federal court records, and USDA documentation. What we found follows a familiar pattern. The worst offenders are the ones whose patty problems were never the headline, just the fine print. We're counting from concerning to genuinely alarming, and finishing with 3 chains where the beef is exactly what the menu says it is. Let's go. Real quick, I need a favor, and it's not for me. It's for the people who aren't here yet. Right now, there are shoppers out there scrolling, looking for exactly what we've got, and they have no idea we exist. They're stuck in the dark. The only way they find us is if this stream gets pushed out further, and the thing that pushes it is your hype. Every hype point you drop isn't just cheering me on, it's you reaching back and pulling someone in who genuinely loved this but hasn't found it yet. You're basically doing their shopping trip a favor before they even show up. So if you've got hype to give, smash it now. Let's go find the people who need to be here. Number 7. Dairy Queen. The betrayal. A chain that has quietly positioned itself as a burger restaurant while telling you almost nothing about what is actually in the patty. Dairy Queen built its identity on ice cream, the Blizzard, the Dilly Bar, soft serve in a cone. In recent years, it has leaned harder into the burger side of the menu, centering its stack burger line as a reason to visit beyond dessert. The problem is what the company is and isn't willing to say about that beef. Dairy Queen's website describes its burger patties as 100% seasoned real beef patties. That is the complete disclosure. No USDA grade, no sourcing region, no statement about whether antibiotics were used in the cattle supply, no mention of whether the beef is fresh or frozen. Independently, food journalists at the Takeout noted that if Dairy Queen's beef suppliers passed USDA quality inspections at the prime, select, or choice grade level, the chain would almost certainly advertise it, because those are selling points. The absence of any grade claim suggests the beef is sourcing below those tiers. Here's the physical test. Order a Dairy Queen stack burger and press the side of your thumb firmly into the edge of the patty before you take the first bite. A fresh beef patty has structural variation. Slight looseness at the edge, a texture that compresses unevenly. A frozen patty that has been thawed and cooked has a more uniform, dense interior because the freezing process compresses the cellular structure. What you feel against your thumb is information about what happened to that beef before it arrived at the grill. 100% seasoned real beef. In a restaurant that would gain significantly from saying more, the choice to say less is the story. Number 6. Sonic Drive-In. The betrayal. The chain that pioneered drive-in dining culture uses frozen patties and has said almost nothing publicly about what's in them, despite running a menu built almost entirely on burgers. Sonic has been serving burgers from drive-in stalls since 1953. The aesthetic is beloved. The menu is enormous. The beef sourcing is close to invisible. Sonic's menu describes the patties as 100% pure seasoned beef patty. No additional information is provided about sourcing, USDA grade, antibiotic protocols, or fresh versus frozen status. When Eat This, Not That contacted Sonic about its burger patties, the chain did not respond to queries. A former employee quoted by the outlet confirmed that patties arrive frozen. A separate employee posting on Reddit said plainly, "Pretty much everything is frozen." Sonic did something notable in 2010. The chain became one of the first fast food operations to institute formal animal welfare standards for its chicken and pork suppliers. It addressed cage-free eggs and humanely raised pork. The beef supply chain, which powers the core of the menu, received no equivalent public commitment. A chain willing to discuss the welfare standards of its egg suppliers, but unwilling to publish a single line about whether the beef patty is fresh or frozen, is making a deliberate choice about what it wants you to think about. Here is the test. Order a Sonic double cheeseburger and watch the timing. In a kitchen cooking fresh beef to order, the cook time varies slightly with patty thickness and grill temperature. A kitchen working with frozen, pre-portioned patties runs on a fixed timer because the product is uniform from the freezer. Extremely consistent timing from order to window, particularly at peak hour, is a reliable indicator of frozen product. No response to sourcing queries. Employee testimony pointing to frozen patties, a welfare program that skipped the beef. Sonic has a lot to say about its drinks menu and not much to say about its core product. Number 5. Jack in the Box. The betrayal. The chain uses 2 different patty formulations, and the one in its premium, supposedly upgraded burgers contains a list of additives that plain beef patties are not supposed to need. Jack in the Box is one of the few chains where the ingredient gap between its basic patty and its premium patty is documented on the company's own website, if you know where to look. The standard Jack in the Box beef patty lists one ingredient: beef. The quarter-pound signature patty, used in the chain's larger and supposedly superior burgers, adds salt, yeast extract, flavorings, dextrose, and other compounds to the beef. Yeast extract is a flavor enhancer. Dextrose is a sugar. These are not ingredients that fresh, quality beef needs. They are ingredients added to make commodity-grade beef taste better than it would on its own. Additionally, in a 2024 study released by the U.S. Public Interest Research Group, Jack in the Box scored an F grade, meaning its suppliers are routinely using medically important antibiotics in beef production. This matters because antibiotic overuse in cattle is directly linked to antibiotic resistance in humans, a public health concern the FDA has been attempting to address for over a decade. Jack in the Box was not alone in this grade, but it was one of the chains specifically cited. Both patties arrive frozen according to employee accounts documented across multiple food publications and online forums. Here is the test. Order the Jumbo Jack, the large burger using the signature quarter-pound patty, and then order a standard cheeseburger. Taste both patties on their own, without condiments. The standard patty tastes like beef. The signature patty will have a slightly different background note, a subtle umami richness that doesn't come from the beef itself. That flavor is the yeast extract doing its job. You're tasting the additive, not the meat. One ingredient in the basic patty, multiple additives in the premium one. The upgrade isn't better beef, it's flavored commodity beef. Number 4. Burger King. The betrayal. The flame-grilled branding has convinced millions of people they're eating a backyard burger. The patties come from the freezer, and the flame-grilled process is a conveyor belt running frozen beef between 2 gas jets. Burger King's brand identity has been built for over 70 years on flame grilling. The char marks, the smoke, the implication that somewhere in the back a burger is being grilled the way your dad did it on a summer weekend. None of that is accurate. Burger King's patties arrive at restaurants frozen solid. Multiple employee accounts, including one widely quoted account describing patties being pulled directly from a freezer to a feeding belt, confirm this. The cooking method is a proprietary conveyor broiler, a machine that moves frozen patties along a chain-link belt between 2 gas flames, cooking them from both sides simultaneously. The fat drips down onto the flames below, creates smoke, and that smoke infuses the meat. The flame-grilled result is real, but it is achieved by running a frozen patty through a machine, not by a cook at a grill making a judgment call about heat and timing. Burger King also used ammonia-treated lean beef trimmings in its patties until at least 2012. When the chain announced it was discontinuing the practice following widespread media coverage of what consumers came to know as pink slime. Lean beef trimmings are the fatty scraps left after processing, material that was primarily used in pet food before a company called Beef Products Inc. developed a method to spin out the fat and treat the remainder with ammonium hydroxide to kill E. coli and salmonella. Burger King, McDonald's, and Taco Bell all removed the product from their supply chains following the 2012 coverage. The fact that it was used at all without consumer disclosure is not a footnote. Here is the test. Bite into a Whopper and pay attention to the texture at the center of the patty, away from the charred exterior. Fresh beef seared on a hot surface has a slightly irregular interior. pockets where moisture has escaped unevenly during cooking. A frozen patty that has been conveyor cooked has a denser, more uniform center because the freezing process compresses the protein structure before it ever reaches heat. The outside of your Whopper will have the smoke and char the branding promises. What's inside it is a different story. Flame-grilled frozen beef, ammonia-treated trimmings until 2012, a conveyor belt doing the work the marketing implies a cook is doing. The backyard branding is the most expensive ingredient in that burger. Number 3. Hardee's and Carl's Jr. The betrayal, 2 chains, 1 parent company, 1 sourcing operation, and a complete silence about whether the beef is fresh or frozen, despite positioning themselves as the premium fast food burger option. Hardee's and Carl's Jr. are the same chain under different names. Carl's Jr. on the West Coast, Hardee's in the Southeast and Midwest, both owned by the same parent company. The menus are nearly identical, the sourcing is identical, and the sourcing story they tell you is almost entirely absent. Both chains market themselves as a step above standard fast food. The Black Angus branding on premium menu items implies quality cattle and careful sourcing. The advertising has historically leaned into bold, unsubtle imagery designed to signal that this burger is more substantial than the competition. The ingredient disclosure does not match the positioning. Both chains confirm their patties are 100% beef. Neither chain publishes a statement indicating the beef is fresh rather than frozen. Employee accounts documented by Chowhound and other food publications describe frozen patties at both chains. A customer posting on Reddit provided photographic evidence of what they described as a frozen patty at a Hardee's location. The company has not publicly addressed whether its patties are fresh or frozen in any documentation available to consumers. Here is the physical test. If you're at a Hardee's or Carl's Jr., watch the grill station for a moment before you order. A kitchen cooking fresh beef will have product moving between refrigerated storage and an active grill on a short cycle. A kitchen running frozen patties has a slower, more systematic movement. Fewer trips between storage and grill, more time at the grill, more predictable output timing. The rhythm of the kitchen tells you what the menu doesn't. Black Angus branding. No fresh beef statement, no frozen beef admission. Employee testimony. That combination is not ambiguity. It is a company carefully choosing what not to say. Here's something worth holding on to before we get to the final 2 on the avoid list. The physical difference between fresh and frozen beef is not subtle once you know what to look for. Fresh beef retains cellular moisture that frozen beef loses during the ice crystal formation of freezing. That moisture is what produces the juice that runs when you cut into a good burger. A dry, compact patty is the frozen supply chain expressing itself on the plate. The patties at the next 2 chains are the most processed on this list and the driest. Number 2. Taco Bell. The betrayal. A class action lawsuit alleged the seasoned beef was only 35% actual beef. Taco Bell disputed that number, but confirmed what's actually in it, and it includes oats, maltodextrin, and soy lecithin alongside the meat. Taco Bell does not sell burgers, but the chain's beef situation belongs on this list because it is the most thoroughly documented case in American fast food history of a company fighting over whether what it was serving could legally be called beef at all. In 2011, an Alabama law firm filed a class action lawsuit alleging that Taco Bell's seasoned beef was only 35% actual beef, with the remaining 65% consisting of water, oats, soy lecithin, maltodextrin, anti-dusting agent, and modified cornstarch. Ingredients the USDA's own standards say cannot be present in a product legitimately labeled as ground beef. The lawsuit demanded Taco Bell change its labeling to taco meat filling rather than seasoned beef. Taco Bell disputed the 35% figure aggressively. The company took out full-page ads in major newspapers and released public statements insisting the product was 88% USDA-inspected beef, with the remaining 12% consisting of seasonings and other ingredients. The firm did not publicly name the laboratory that produced the 35% figure, which weakened their case. The lawsuit was dropped. But here is what even Taco Bell's own defense revealed. The product does contain oats, maltodextrin, and soy lecithin. The chain describes these as seasonings. The USDA describes them as binders and extenders, compounds specifically prohibited from a product that can legally be called ground beef. Taco Bell was not selling ground beef. It was selling a beef-based seasoned filling that met a different, lower standard. In July 2023, a second class action lawsuit was filed, alleging that Taco Bell falsely advertises the amount of beef in its crunch wraps and Mexican pizzas. That case is ongoing. Here is the test. Order the standard taco and order the seasoned beef on the side if you can. Let it cool slightly, then press it between two fingers. Real ground beef, even well seasoned, maintains a coarse, fibrous texture from the muscle grain. A heavily extended filling with oats, starch, and binders will feel smoother and more paste-like because the fillers have homogenized the texture. What you feel between your fingers is the filler ratio expressing itself directly. The lawsuit was dropped. The oats are still in the beef. Number 1. McDonald's. The betrayal. The world's largest burger chain spent years using ammonia-treated meat trimmings and has never clearly disclosed what blend of cuts goes into the patty, while marketing 100% beef as if it answers every question worth asking. McDonald's is the biggest restaurant company on Earth. It serves roughly 70 million people per day across 100 countries. Its burger patties are the most consumed piece of ground beef in human history, and for years they contained a product that most of those 70 million people would not have chosen knowingly. Lean beef trimmings, the material left after the primary cuts are removed, typically too fatty to use as is, were processed into a beef filler by Beef Products Inc., using a method that involved spinning out fat and then treating the remaining protein with a puff of ammonium hydroxide gas to kill E. coli and salmonella. McDonald's used this product, which consumers later came to know as pink slime, until 2012. The company confirmed it had been using the product prior to 2011 and stated it was no longer part of the supply chain. It did not explain how many years it had been used or in what quantities. McDonald's current patties are made from a blend of beef trimmings, cuts like chuck, round, and sirloin, ground and formed into patties. The company confirmed this through a behind-the-scenes production facility visit arranged with Good Morning America. The patties are frozen, distributed, and cooked on flat-top griddles at each location. McDonald's markets the Quarter Pounder as using fresh beef, which is accurate for that specific product. The standard patties used in the Big Mac and most classic burgers are frozen. The 100% beef claim is technically accurate and functionally incomplete. 100% beef means no non-beef fillers. It does not specify the cut, the USDA grade, the antibiotic status, the country of origin of the animal, or whether the trimmings were from primary cuts or processing residue. Every one of those questions has a meaningful answer. McDonald's answers none of them with the phrase it uses. Here is the test. Order a standard McDonald's cheeseburger and a Quarter Pounder with cheese side by side. The Quarter Pounder uses fresh beef cooked to order. Bite through both patties and compare the texture at the center. The fresh Quarter Pounder will have slight irregularity and a juicier interior. The standard frozen cheeseburger patty will have a denser, more uniform texture. What you are tasting in that comparison is the difference between fresh and frozen beef, served to you in the same restaurant, under the same 100% beef marketing claim, at the same moment. 70 million servings a day. Pink slime until 2012. A marketing phrase that answers the least important question about the meat. Before we dive in, we've turned hundreds of hours of research into the hidden menu grocery and restaurant guides. Over 200 pages of useful information, honest verdicts on the brands worth buying, the ones to skip, the restaurant chains worth the visit, and the better alternatives we recommend. Head to thehiddenmenuguide.com to take a closer look. Now, let's get into today's video. Number 1. Now the 3 that actually use real beef. Real meat number 3. Whataburger. Fresh, never frozen American beef that does not hit the grill until you place the order. That is the Whataburger commitment, and the company backs it with an in-house distribution and supply chain operation designed around a single constraint. The beef cannot freeze. Whataburger has been operating since 1950 in Texas and has grown to over 1,100 locations across 17 states. The chain's own website calls it one of the quickest production-to-grill timelines in the quick-service restaurant industry. The vegetables are chopped in-house daily. The tomatoes, lettuce, and onions are sourced from North American farms. The ketchup is clean label, meaning the ingredient list contains no artificial or synthetic additives. Here is the test. Bite into a Whataburger and pay attention to the juice. Fresh beef retains cellular moisture that freezing destroys. A patty with that moisture will run slightly when you apply pressure. That's not grease. It's the water-soluble compounds released from fresh muscle tissue during cooking. It is what a burger is supposed to do, and it is something a frozen patty, regardless of how well the chain cooks it, cannot replicate. If you are within range of a Whataburger, the beef is real. Your jaw will tell you before the label does. Real meat number 2. Wendy's. The square patty is famous. What is less famous is that the square shape has a specific purpose. It hangs over the round bun so you can see the beef before you eat it. That was a deliberate design choice by Dave Thomas in 1969, rooted in the same philosophy that still governs the chain today. No frozen beef, no fillers, no additives. Wendy's sources its beef from North American farms, certified under the Beef Quality Assurance Program, a USDA-aligned animal welfare and quality standard. The chain was the first restaurant to partner with the Progressive Beef Program, an independent third-party verification system for animal care and sustainability practices. The patties contain no preservatives and no fillers. The only additions are salt and pepper applied at the grill. The square patty is pressed to the same thickness at every location because it's made from a consistent fresh grind, not because it came out of a mold from a frozen patty processing facility. That distinction is visible in the irregular edge of the cooked patty, which presses out slightly differently on every burger because fresh beef responds to heat differently each time. Here's the test. Order a Wendy's single and fold the patty slightly before your first bite. Fresh beef has a slight spring. It resists the fold and wants to return to its shape because the protein structure is intact. A frozen patty, once cooked, is more compliant, more uniform. That resistance is the fresh beef telling you what it is. Wendy's has been fresh since 1969. The square is still hanging over the bun. Real meat number 1. In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out controls its own meat processing facilities. The beef is USDA ground chuck. It is never frozen at any point between the farm and the grill. In-N-Out's supply chain is so tightly controlled for freshness that new restaurant locations are specifically limited by how close they can be built to one of the company's regional distribution centers, because the beef shelf life dictates the geography. That constraint, building a restaurant around the beef rather than building the beef supply around the restaurant, is the opposite of how every other chain on this list operates. The menu is 4 items: burger, fries, shake, drink. There is no corporate pressure to expand the menu, no private equity cycle demanding margin expansion, no reason to source cheaper beef to fund new product development. The same family has owned the company since 1948. The patty contains beef? That is the ingredient list. Here is the test. Order a double-double and pull the top bun off before your first bite. Look at the patty edge where it is pressed, against the grill. Fresh beef seared on a hot, flat top produces a slightly lacy, irregular edge where the fat renders fast and crisps. A frozen patty produces a more even, sealed edge because the surface moisture from thawing creates a different sear. The edge of an In-N-Out patty looks like beef cooked by someone who cared about the result. That is what real meat looks like. One family, one menu, one ingredient in the patty. If you are west of the Rockies, In-N-Out is the answer to most burger questions. Before you close this, one rule worth keeping. The next time you're at any burger chain, ask one question. Does this place say fresh, never frozen? Or does it say 100% beef? Those are not the same claim. Every chain on the avoid list can say 100% beef, and most do. Only the chains with something real to show you say it was never frozen. The patty is where the money goes. What happens to it before it reaches the grill tells you everything about what that money is actually buying. And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.